Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers first-round pick believes another team leaked his injury history. Selected by the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 20th overall pick in the 2024 draft, offensive tackle Troy Fautanu went later in the first round than most projected. In an April 30th interview, Fautanu told Seattle Sports Radio 950 KJR he believes another team leaked information about a previous knee injury. "I talked to my agent, and basically he was saying that a team later in the draft might have leaked it to try to get me to fall. We don't know," Fautanu said. "It's part of the process. Maybe if that hadn't come out, maybe I wouldn't be ending up in Pittsburgh. I'm kind of happy everything did play out the way it was supposed to." A report of Fautanu's previous injury emerged ahead of the draft. In an April 22 report from Sports Illustrated, reporter Albert Breer said teams flagged Fautanu for concern over a knee injury. "That one was described to me as the sort of issue that shouldn't be a problem in the short term, but could wind up impacting his longevity in the pros, though his high football character is a factor in making teams feel like he'll do all he can to take care of it and give himself the best chance," Breer wrote. Fautanu told 950 KJR the knee injury didn't impact his availability at Washington. He's also confident it won't be a concern in the NFL. "The last time I dealt with it was in 2021, but I never missed any games, never missed any practices due to it." Breer's report was kind of random, honestly. Reports of Fautanu's injury history did little to sway the Steelers away from him. Moments after the selection, head coach Mike Tomlin and general manager Omar Khan said Fautanu was the highest-ranked player on their draft board. "We wouldn't select him if we weren't comfortable with it," said Khan, via the team's YouTube page. "I can't speak for some of the stuff that's put out there and what's true and what's not, what other people are saying, but we're comfortable." Every draft hopeful stays close to their phone through draft weekend. Fautanu was no different. "Up until number 20 when Pittsburgh had called me, I was very stressed," Fautanu told 950 KJR. "I was gripping my phone. I had a death grip on it. I wasn't letting it go. Anytime something dinged on my phone or a notification popped off, I was on edge, for sure." While he waited for the life-changing call, Fautanu said he got several prank calls pretending to be from NFL teams. "I had gotten 5 or 6 random calls from random people trying to screw with me. I would answer the phone, and I would hear, 'This is so-and-so from this team. I talked to these people before, so I know how they sound. It's probably just some high school kid screwing around.' I was a little bit upset about that part, but I guess it's part of the process." The Pittsburgh Steelers knocked the 2024 NFL Draft out of the park, staying put at every one of their picks and not having to trade up to get the guys they wanted. The Steelers landed Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, Roman Wilson, and Peyton Wilson in the first 3 rounds, all 4 however, while appearing on the Pat McAfee show. Steelers general manager said the Steelers were calling teams in hopes of moving up to make sure they landed the star offensive tackle out of Washington. "We were working the phones, hoping the opportunity was there to draft Troy," Khan said. "Fortunately, he was still there at 20 when we weren't able to get a deal done. But we got him at 20, and I can't tell you how excited we are to have him. He's a Steeler." Fautanu is expected to start as a rookie. Whether that will be on the right side or left side will likely be determined in training camp. The 2024 NFL Draft is in the books, and the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to have found the first-round pick to appease almost everyone with offensive tackle Troy Fautanu. Earlier this week, we asked Steelers fans to grade the round 1 selection, and the results were telling, with 77% of fans assigning an A grade and 19% of fans grading the pick a B. In other news, it would appear that at least 2% of Steelers fans may have fat-fingered the poll, because there's no way there are fans are grading this pick a D or an F, regardless of how you'd prioritize draft needs. From a needs perspective or best player available perspective, Fautanu's selection was a hit. It's also safe to say that the Steelers made their fans happier than most franchises who picked outside of the top 10. Fataanu was one of just 7 prospects drafted between picks number 11 and 32 to receive an A grade from 75% or higher from their respective fan base in SB Nation's polls site-wide. Well, for starters, he's another anchor on the new-look offensive line that Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan have been carefully assembling over the past 2 seasons. Having ranked well inside the top 15 on most consensus draft boards, it seemed like a miracle he was even available by the Steelers' pick at number 1. Perhaps some concerns stem from the fact that he's on the shorter side for a tackle at 6 feet 3 inches 3/4, but it's been said that the Steelers view him as a tackle, so we'll roll with it, considering he makes up with it in other ways, including his lengthy arms and explosive athleticism. For another, he's a Steelers fan. For real. Literally. When asked how excited he is to be wearing black and gold in his opening presser, Fataanu shared, "I grew up a Troy Polamalu fan. I wore 43 pretty much my whole life until I had to switch to O-line, and I couldn't wear it. Just growing up, being a fan of the Steelers, and when Ben Roethlisberger was there. I know a lot about the team and a lot about the history. So, I'm just super excited to finally, kind of get this over with, and it couldn't have been any better that it was with the team I grew up loving." Fataanu couldn't have a more Steelers-esque love for football either, sharing, "It's all I think about. Football is all I think about. Football is all I know. Especially, playing offensive line, you've really got to love the sport in order to do what we do in the trenches, and it's something I take pride in and something I enjoyed." Steelers ripped for weirdest draft meeting. The Pittsburgh Steelers are being called out for the strangest pre-draft meeting of the 2024 NFL Draft. During an interview with the Real Hawk Talk by Hawk Blogger podcast, former Texas defensive tackle Byron Murphy said the Steelers asked him to do something he left feeling a little strange about. The defensive tackle didn't make it to pick number 20 in the NFL Draft, but if he did, he was probably an option for Pittsburgh. Thankfully, they avoided any uncomfortable circumstance after their visit. "The weirdest thing I did," Murphy said, "I was meeting with Pittsburgh. They made me face a wall. Made me do something with my hands and squat all the way down. And then made me do it again. I guess they were just trying to see how flexible I was. But I'm like, man, what is this?" The Steelers ended up picking Iowa defensive tackle Logan Lee in the 6th round of the NFL Draft, while Murphy went 16th overall to the Seattle Seahawks. A strange meeting probably started the two sides off on the wrong foot, but Pittsburgh is notorious for looking back at players they were interested in coming out of college once they hit free agency. So, you just never know when Murphy will get a shot to talk about his strange meeting again. Steelers reportedly reached out to the Seahawks about DK Metcalf. The Pittsburgh Steelers are actively big game hunting for a wide receiver. After multiple reports of the Steelers reaching out to the San Francisco 49ers about Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, as well as calling the Denver Broncos about Courtland Sutton, Pittsburgh reportedly wasn't done. According to NFL Inside Benjamin Albright in a post on X, the Steelers also reached out to the Seattle Seahawks in hopes of acquiring DK Metcalf. The Steelers called about Ayuk and Sutton and have been rebuffed, Albright said. At least with opening talks. Called about DK, I don't believe a trade would get done there until after June 1, if one got done at all. Albright added that the Steelers have called up to half a dozen teams in hopes of landing a receiver. With the 49ers, Broncos, and Seahawks being 3 teams the Steelers have reached out to, that still leaves at least 3 others. Could the Las Vegas Raiders be one of those teams with Davante Adams? The Washington Commanders with Terry McLaurin? The Steelers are clearly fishing for their white whale at receiver, and it feels like it's only a matter of time before something gets done. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of DK Metcalf? Leave your opinion in the comments.